Let's get this video to 10,000 views and likes. A movie can be more than a story. It can be a map. The Dark Crystal looks like fantasy, but its deeper meaning is really about what happens when fear learns to wear the shape of power, and how a whole world gets saved only when people decide not to accept that darkness as normal. So let me start with a hook that cuts straight to the heart of it. In a world that teaches you to look away, the real magic is choosing to look and choosing to act before darkness convinces you it was always meant to win. Because that's what the Dark Crystal is saying. Underneath the age, the monsters, and the wonder, light isn't just something you have. Light is something you do. In the film, the crystal is not merely an object, it's the balance of life itself. And when it's shattered, the world doesn't just become dangerous, it becomes broken in a way that spreads. Seasons turn wrong, truth gets distorted, beauty becomes rare, cruelty becomes routine, and then something happens that matters. Darkness doesn't arrive like a single villain in a cape. Darkness arrives like a system. It arrives as a worldview, as a hierarchy, as a way of telling you this is just how it is. It arrives through intimidation, through control of information, control of movement, control of hope. It's not only that the Dark Crystal is cracked, it's that the people around it start losing the ability to imagine repair. That's the deeper meaning. When darkness takes over, it doesn't only threaten your body, it threatens your spirit's confidence in tomorrow. And if we're being honest, that's what many of us feel in the time we're living in. Not always with the same creatures and castles, but with the same pattern. We live in an era where it can feel like everything is urgent, but nothing is improving. Where outrage spreads faster than wisdom. Where cruelty can go viral, where people are sorted into sides instead of invited into solutions. We're surrounded by noise that tries to replace meaning, and we're shown versions of ourselves that are smaller, versions that shrink our courage down to tolerance, our empathy down to performing kindness, our hope down to just getting through. Meanwhile, the world keeps asking the same question in 1,000 disguises. Will you let the brokenness become your personality, or will you become the repair? In the Dark Crystal, one of the most powerful things the story does is center the journey of someone small who doesn't fit the usual power structure. The hero isn't powerful because they were born into authority. They're powerful because they can still feel wonder, still recognize what's true, and still choose to move when fear says stop. That's crucial. The story doesn't treat courage like a mood. It treats courage like a decision you make again and again. Because darkness loves one thing more than violence. It loves resignation. It wants you to believe that your inner light is private, fragile, and pointless, that protecting it is enough and changing anything is impossible. Darkness says keep your head down, keep your dreams quiet, don't bother. The crystal can't be healed. But the deeper lesson is that the crystal is healed not because someone is perfect, but because someone is willing to travel, willing to risk misunderstanding, willing to carry responsibility even when it doesn't guarantee applause, willing to learn, willing to become. So here's how it corresponds to the time we're living in. We don't just face darkness as a threat, we face it as a temptation. The temptation to numb out, to stop caring, to trade imagination for cynicism, to let the world teach us that realism means surrender. But the Dark Crystal argues the opposite. It says the darkness will always offer you an easier story, One where nothing changes, one where the powerful stay powerful, one where the weak don't matter, one where the cracks are inevitable. And the true deeper meaning is that we came here to refuse that story. Not with denial, not with pretending, with devotion. Devotion to wonder when it's inconvenient. Devotion to kindness when it's mocked. Devotion to truth when it would be easier to repeat a lie. Devotion to each other when survival would rather you isolate. Devotion to the long work of repair. And that's why this movie hit people from our generation so differently. We grew up watching worlds where magic wasn't just spectacle. It was permission. Permission to believe that the smallest choice could matter. Permission to see monsters and still choose compassion. Permission to know that the light inside you isn't just sentimental. It's strategic. It's the force that keeps you human while the world tries to grind you into something cold and useful. We remember the feeling that the story wasn't finished when things looked hopeless. That hope wasn't naive. It was necessary. That the journey was the point. That darkness could be challenged, not just tolerated. So when I say we came here by choice, I mean it literally in spirit. We came here not to let darkness steal our inner lights. Not the light that flashes once at a motivational speech, but the light that keeps showing up in the quiet, in the way you treat people when nobody's watching, in the way you do the right thing when the easy thing would look better, in the way you keep learning even when you've been hurt, in the way you hold your imagination like a living fire. Because darkness doesn't win by overpowering you in one dramatic moment. Darkness wins when it convinces you that your inner light can't change anything. But the dark crystal ends with an idea you can carry into real life. Sometimes the world doesn't get saved by someone who has the most power. Sometimes it gets saved by someone who refuses to abandon the possibility of healing. A small being, a brave choice, a responsibility picked up with both hands. And now, right here, right now, that's the call the story keeps making to us. Not to fantasy, to fidelity. Fidelity to what's good, fidelity to what's true, fidelity to each other, fidelity to the part of you that still knows the crystal can be mended. So if the world feels cracked, don't assume the story ends there. Remember, a broken crystal can still be repaired if you're willing to walk toward it. If you're willing to keep your inner light lit when cynicism would be easier. If you're willing to become the kind of person whose presence helps restore balance. And when fear whispers stop, let your heart answer not yet. Not yet because we are still here. Not yet because our inner lights are still ours. Not yet because the darkness never gets the last word. Not yet because we chose to come, and we'll choose again until the final word is ours again. If your inner light is still yours, hit that like button and let the universe know. Share this with others who still carry the light. And if you feel it's worth protecting, subscribe and join me in ensuring the next generation knows the light. Till next time, remember, we're all in this together.